This podcast is part of the C-Suite Radio Network, turning the volume up on business.
Welcome to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us as Deb talks with her guests, experts in their fields, as they share real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
Good morning, good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today, I think we have a first. We have a family member of a former guest who is on our program. We've had some people before who have been business associates, business partners. I think we've had maybe a spouse or two, but I don't think we've ever had a son-in-law of a family member, of a person who was a guest on our program. So, we are going to be talking about that because it is a family business that my guest is part of. And so it's going to be a ton of fun today. And we really are going to have a good time talking about this and everything that he does. So please join me in welcoming Zachary Beach to our program today. Welcome, Zach.
Hey, Deb, thank you very much for having me on. I look forward to diving into a fantastic conversation and bringing your audience some great value.
Perfect. I love it. Well, before we dive in, let me tell people just a little bit about you. So Zachary Beach is a part of the Smart Real Estate Coach family located in Newport, Rhode Island. He co-authored their most recent best-selling book, and here it is, The New Rules of Real Estate Investing, working alongside his brother-in-law, Nick, father-in-law, Chris, and a great support team. He is a successful real estate investor, completing over 100 deals in under 3 years. And he continues to buy and sell property without, this is important, folks, without using his own cash, credit, or investors' money. So again, Zach, welcome.
Thank you very much. I think you covered it all.
Okay, we're done.
Yeah, you made me sound amazing. I very much appreciate that.
Well, it is always so much fun because I get to learn things. People ask me, why do you do the program? And I say, because I get to talk to the greatest people in the world, and I really get to learn things. And it was interesting. I mentioned that we had your father-in-law on the program, and that's Chris Prefontaine. He was on several months ago, program 460, for people who want to look it up and listen to it or watch it. And what he was talking about was exactly what you're going to be talking about too, is real estate investing. I knew nothing about it. I'll admit, I still really don't know an awful lot about it. I don't even know enough to be dangerous. But it is one of those things that is a fabulous option for people as a way to make extra money or to really, start doing as a full-time business. But before we jump into this, I'm sure people are wondering what the heck my shirt is because we're only seeing part of it. So here's the full shirt. So it says Wicked Smart. And I love it because you sent me this shirt. No guest has ever sent me a t-shirt before. I've gotten other gifts, and obviously lots of books and things like that. But explain the shirt. What does Wicked Smart mean?
Well, Deb, you're now part of the Wicked Smart community.
Yay!
So and we're from Massachusetts originally, and we're here in Southern New England. So it's Wicked Smart.
But
Smart.
Okay, I got to get that right. Wicked Smart. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Wicked Smart. So Wicked Smart is our community of our associates that we work with, our community of students, our family. So we treat every single person that we work with around the country as family. So their Wicked Smart community just represents our core values and who we are represented as a community in general. And we're all striving to do the absolute best and to create $1 million real estate businesses.
Great. I love it. Well, one of the things that I really want to talk about is the fact that you are a young entrepreneur. A lot of people are a little bit more mature when they decide they're going to go off and do all of this. And you recently had a birthday. Actually, as we're filming this, it is your birthday, but because it actually doesn't share right on the date. You're a whopping 29 years old. And that is somewhat unique for many entrepreneurs. So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you get here? Because it's a very unique and very interesting story.
Yeah, well, thank you for asking. Yeah, it's been quite a ride. I'll tell you that. It wasn't. I didn't, have a dream growing up that I was going to be a real estate entrepreneur at all. I actually knew zero about real estate up to the last 3.5 years. So when I came out of college, I was a bartender and I was a personal trainer. I was just trying to find my way through life and figure out what I wanted to do. And at one point in time, I was just getting so exhausted from working long nights and waking up really early in the morning to then personal train people. So I went to my father-in-law, Chris, and Nick, who had a real estate business. And I said, hey, I don't know if I'm going to like this, but I think it's better than what I'm doing right now. Would you be open to me joining the family business? And from there, I just started diving into the trenches and added another thing on my list. So I was in between my two other jobs or personal training and bartending. I started making some phone calls and then eventually jumped in full time April about 3 years ago. And here we are today. I just kind of followed in the footsteps of the family. And then eventually, once I had a grasp of everything, then I started including my own ideas in building up the company as we all continue to grow this company.
Right. I love it. And your other careers, bartending and your personal training, they're very integral a part of this, because I think more than anything, it taught you good customer service. How to listen. I mean, we all know that, the stereotypes about bartenders, where you're leaning on the bar and you're listening to your patrons' stories. But, it is true. You do have to listen and pick up as to what they're saying. And, even more importantly, as a personal trainer, because somebody might not be telling you, ow, that hurts, or even, hesitating to do something. And you need to pick up on that, which I think is very important in what you do, because real estate investing, just real estate in general, is definitely a very personal type of industry. You have to overcome a lot of people's reservations, whether it's they might really not want to sell, they don't know what to expect, all of these various things. And so it's something that you obviously have to be a very good listener to be successful.
Yeah, I 100% agree with everything you just said. I think as we kind of travel through the journey of life, we pick up skills that then bring us to the next level. And then eventually, whatever I'm learning today will take me to the next level and the next goal that I'm reaching for. So yes, bartending, it taught me to be able to talk to anybody about anything.
Right.
Which if you're making a lot of calls on the phone and you're speaking with people who aren't expecting to talk to you and don't know you, building rapport within, say, a 3 to 10 minute conversation is extremely important. So definitely learn that from bartending. And then personal training, I learned being able to, create programs really, and that's being able to dissect and create a program where there's step by step on how to help somebody accomplish a goal, which is the same thing with real estate investing. Right. They are in a certain place where they are right now, and they want to be someplace else. Now, how do I create a customized experience that will get them to that goal? Right. And if I'm able to do that, then we're going to have a really good deal.
And I think it's also important to note that, you, as we said, it is part of the family business, and so that makes it easier and it makes it harder, to be doing this. So let's talk a little bit more about that, because a lot of people think, ooh, I can work with my family, or a lot of people think, oh, no way. So what are some of the advantages and disadvantages to being in a family-run business?
Yeah, it is quite the experience. And we've always thought of it as being really we just kind of followed the energy. When I first came into the business, what I'm doing now is not what I did when I first started. Same with my brother-in-law, Nick, and same with my father-in-law, Chris. We kind of shifted as we all got to know each other better and decide what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are. So we were able to go with that flow. So I would say the advantages of being in a family business are you really know the people that you're working with, which also could be an advantage. Definitely be a disadvantage as well. Also, your goals are in alignment, and they're more powerful because I feel as though everybody is really benefiting when you're moving forward as a family, because you're not only impacting, say, the three of us, but you're impacting my son, who's who's going to be 2 years old, my daughter, who's going to be coming out in this world in October.
Congratulations!
My wife, my nephew even worked with us for a period of time as well. So you get to have that family ingrained roots, which allows you to affect a lot more people, which you probably wouldn't if you're just an employee or you were partners with somebody else in another family, unless you were really close.
Right.
Disadvantages, it's hard to shut off sometimes. You definitely have to have the ability to shut off. It was funny, at one point in time, we not only all worked together, but we all lived like on the same street. When we all moved down here to Newport. And we had this ongoing joke where when we all got home, we'd pull into the driveways and we'd wave to each other from across the street and say, "Hey, how was your day?" No, it's really important that you close the door and you shut off and you go into family life at a certain point, as you could continue to carry this on forever. Now, if you get some really good things happening, and business, especially being an entrepreneur, your business and your life are very intertangled. So you're obviously going to talk about positives, but leave the negative stuff at the office, and you'll get back to it, in the morning. And then the other disadvantages is it also could be an advantage. And one of our core values is clear, blunt, and to the point. So it's not allowing there to be any gray areas where people are having different thoughts, especially when it comes to money. As when you're involved with making money within a family. There's been tons of businesses that I know of that have been torn apart, and families been torn apart due to money. So it's really important that everything is laid out on the line. If there's some frustrations or anything that's going on, it's all put on the table. That way we don't hold these things in and destroy the family, not just the business.
Right. And let's be honest, you're dealing with large sums of money, and because real estate in and of itself is large sums of money. I mean, we're not talking about, say, a family restaurant that might clear $500 in a night. You're doing transactions that on occasion are in the millions of dollars.
Yeah, it's especially controlling large amounts of assets, but within real estate in general, there's just so many moving parts, and there's so places where little nuances could pop up, but yes, there's money's always constantly flowing throughout that expectation and throughout the process. So yeah, it's important. But even if you were dealing with small sums of money, it doesn't matter. I mean, $500 to somebody and $1 million to somebody is completely different as far as perspective. So just my thought would just be to make sure that when you're having conversations about money and when you're talking about the business, that everybody just knows where everybody stands.
And you mentioned one of the things that I think is so important is leave business at the office. Now, you can't always. I mean, you get together in the evening and you have a great idea. You don't want to wait, to talk about it. But I think it's important that you do discuss other things, and have outside interests. So you're talking about, hey, you saw this movie over the weekend, or to have those things where you're associating with other people besides your family. My husband is from a large family, and unfortunately we don't see them very much because they're in Colorado and we're here in Atlanta. But it's great when we get together because we have so many things to talk about because everybody has such diverse interests. But then it does come back sometimes to the things that are very common to everybody. And I mean, I guess it's the same in any workplace, is you want to have people that have diverse interests because that brings in other perspectives. And I mean, it's important to not be family all the time, I think is what I'm trying to say.
No, I 100% agree with you. Me and my brother-in-law talked about that a lot, as when we didn't work together, we were doing other things. And then when we started working together, it was just all about the business. So we do our best to go see a movie, or right now we're both training for a half marathon. So just like doing things that are outside of real estate and outside of coaching and consulting. That way, we can have fun doing other things, which is really important.
Right. And one of the things that your dad mentioned in the book was one of the cool advantages is that your son comes into the office frequently, and so he's getting a lot of things. Now, obviously, he's little, so it's not like he's participating, but for one thing, he's seeing his other family members, so that's great. He's being socialized, all those various things, but I would imagine that as he gets older, it may be something that he continues to do, to come in and see things. And whether he chooses to go into the family business or not, he is picking up on great skills, and great business tactics. And you mentioned your core values, and that is talked about in the book, but talk a little bit more about some of the core values that your company has, because they're very important. And so many businesses never stop to think, what is our core value? We're here to make money. We're here to do business, but that's not a core value. Talk to us a little bit about those core values.
Yeah, I would love to. And this completely goes back to the original conversation of what is the Wicked Smart community. As we bring on new associates, so people we do deals with throughout the country, and help them build their businesses based on these core values. You don't get into the Wicked Smart community unless you fit these, because that's not only is it what we live by as a company, but also we took all of these values from the family as well. And the first one is we empower individuals and families. So you can look at that on both sides, both in our buying and selling entities. We help out both buyers and sellers, and we empower them. Also in our coaching, we're empowering the individual entrepreneur to be able to build out their own business and to chase after the dream that they want, whether it's getting out of the corporation world and become entrepreneurs now, or build a side income where, like myself with my son, we're putting together a small portfolio, and we're using some of those techniques like an IRA in order to create some wealth for him as he grows up. Next one is we constantly innovate and improve. We always want to be on the cusp of everything. One of our major products is called the Quantum Leap System, which is our video course. And unlike most other coaching programs, it's not stale. It's not 10 years old. We actually update the modules yearly. So that way we're constantly on the cusp, because we are in the trenches right now. We want to make sure that that people that are learning from us are able to be on the cusp as well. We complete all transactions with the highest integrity. It's extremely important being a real estate investor and in real estate in general. There are some individuals out there that aren't living up to the integrity, and we always want to make sure that that's what separates us. With our coaching, we're matching effort for effort. We're not out there to push a wet noodle. We are there to empower the individual. So if somebody wants to run and grow a large business, then we're right along with them. If somebody just wants to do onesie, twosie transactions, we're right along with them. So we're always matching effort for effort. As I mentioned before, we're clear, blunt, and to the point, no gray area. I think that's definitely a regional thing. I think if you come to anybody in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, you're probably going to get clear, blunt, and to the point. But we want to make sure that we always are letting people know exactly how we feel. And I don't mean that in a rude way. I mean that in a productive way.
You're not going to hurt somebody's feelings on purpose.
Exactly. Yep. But I want them to know exactly where we stand.
Right.
And then team over me is the last core value, which, it's important that we're moving together as a team, but also as a community. The Wicked Smart community is constantly pushing forward. That's why each and every associate or student that we bring into that community is not only benefiting from it, but they're also bringing benefit to the community as well.
Right. And those, as I mentioned, those are in your book, and obviously a very important part of your organization. But what struck me as I was reading the book is, yes, it is about real estate investing. But even if you're not somebody who wants to do real estate investing, there were so much information and so many tips in it about just doing business. Things like continually be learning. work on your health. Now granted, I'm kind of a lazy slug, but I try and get in at least a mile a day of walking, and because that helps in so many ways, and you work out a lot more than I do, but you're also a lot younger. And it's not, a heat index of 102 degrees for you. But there were just so many tips in your book that I thought these apply to anybody. Again, whether you're wanting to do real estate investing, whether you're wanting to work with your family or not, it was just sound business practices. And so that's one of the things that I want people to know is read the book. It's got some great information in it, whether you want to be a partner with them or not.
Yeah, absolutely. We pull from multiple different industries and learn from many mentors and coaches that aren't necessarily within either the coaching world or the real estate world. Because yes, we are all in business. We just happen to be in the medium of and happen to sell real estate. But all the other business practices 100% come into play when it comes to leading your team with leadership and hiring and firing and having systems and processes in place and just overall, personal development in order to take yourself and your team to the next level.
Mm-hmm. Right. And again, just good business tips. And that was, I think, what struck me most when I was reading your book was, wow, this pertains to anybody.
Yeah, that was our hope for the impact there, because most people that end up joining our programs or we end up working with are coming from a completely different avenue than real estate. They just chose real estate to be their freedom vehicle, right? We are all, whether we like it or not, looking for freedom, whether it just depends on what that means to you, whether it's, you want to build a large company so you make a ton of money, or it's you want to, make things super simple. That way you don't have large bills. Or it's really just the freedom to be able to choose what you want to do, when you want to do it, who you want to help. So you have people that are coming from various places originally, like corporations, or we're entrepreneurs before and had another type of niche, and now they're using real estate in order to be that vehicle. So yeah, I encourage people that if you're looking for other ways to invest or another way to leverage yourself, because we have a very particular niche in real estate that we work in, which is the terms business, which means that you don't use your own cash or your own credit or beg investors for money. By doing that, you're actually able to leverage other people's finances and other people's assets in order to build your own portfolio. So I encourage people to take a look at this, because it's also like, okay, well, you invest in real estate, or you go invest in stocks or some other investment. Maybe you're a venture capitalist. This is another way to create another avenue and another way to leverage yourself in order to create some more wealth and some more freedom.
Right. So let's talk more specifically about that. And I mentioned that we had your father-in-law, Chris, on, and we really delved into this a lot with him, but it is something that I think I think people are curious about it, confused about it, or have absolutely no knowledge about it. So we're not talking about fix and flip. You might have to do some work on the properties that you buy, but it's not the not the things like we see on TV with fix and flip. And so tell us a little bit more about specifically how you do business.
Yeah, I love that our niche is not on TV, because fixing and flipping did not become popular until HGTV became a very...
Oh, yeah. And so, of course, they make it look way easier than it is, because they can do all that in an hour. Wow.
Yeah, I can tell you that they are leaving out a large amount of the business. It's are they buying the property correctly? It's all of the little nuances that go into the remodeling and all the crazy things that happen that set you back. And then if you can actually sell the property, how much you're paying on a realtor commissions, how much you actually end up getting for the property. So there's a lot of little things that aren't show friendly.
Yeah, whether it's boring or, granted, they have a limited period of time. And their whole big thing is more of the fixing part. But yeah, so that's not what you guys do.
Nope. So we definitely don't fix and flip, or that's not our main source there. We don't wholesale.
Mhm.
So we're not trying to buy extremely low and flipping the contract to somebody and creating these small margins. We're not doing the BRRRR method, which means that we're not buying it, rehabbing it, refinancing it, and then renting it. What we do is we focus on the terms market, which comes down to a couple different scenarios.
Mhm.
Is we focus on lease options. Lease options simply means that you and the seller are going to agree upon a price. You'll take over 100% responsibility of the property, and then on and before an end date, you'll cash them out. So title stays in the seller's name, financing stays in the seller's name. You are more or less have a lease on the property with an option to buy on and before a specific date. The other one that we should touch upon is owner financing. So that is letting the seller finance the property for you. So this is assuming the house is free and clear. There's no mortgage on it. You can close on the property, and the seller will hold a mortgage like a bank would. And then you craft up terms where you pay the seller as if the bank, and then on and before an end date, you'll give them a balloon payment. What they're projecting is about 20% of all real estate transactions over the next 5 years are going to be seller financed.
Right.
Because roughly, I think it's 1/3 of properties are free and clear in the country.
I mean, that just makes sense because of our aging demographics. All of the baby boomers have gone through their 30-year mortgage, or maybe they didn't do it in 30 years, but they've paid off their mortgage.
Yeah, and they're in a position, the people that we end up working with, the sellers that we end up buying from, are in a position where they don't need the finance. They don't need their cash right now. They don't need their equity. Right. They're willing to get more profit from the house, but are willing to wait. Because, of course, if they needed the equity, they probably would have refinanced and pulled it out. So we're working with sellers that are in a very good position financially or have multiple properties, and they're willing to hold on to the property as far as the note until we can pay them off, which allows us to sell it and work with our what we call tenant buyers, and we do all of our program. We have a rent-to-own program that we sell it through.
Right. And I like that concept because as I mentioned, it's good for kind of this aging population who might be thinking, okay, you know what, it's time to downsize. It's time to move with the grandkids, time to maybe move into an adult community, all of those various things. But as you said, they're not in any hurry to do it. And they're not in a financial rush to do it.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So most of the sellers that we end up working with, because a major question always is, okay, Zach, well, that's great that you can buy these products, but how do you actually find these sellers?
Right.
Like,
how the heck do you find them?
Their right mind is open to holding on to the property and waiting 3 to 10 years for the rest of their money. And I'll tell you, it's the same lead sources that most investors will get, which is somebody selling their house for sale by owner, somebody trying to rent their house, or an expired listing, meaning they were with a realtor and they weren't able to sell it, so now they're expired. Same lead sources, there's a certain type of person that we work with, which is somebody that's typically in a good financial situation that's willing to wait, willing to get more profit. Or the other scenario is somebody that's selling their house roughly for what they owe, so they're going to be coming out of pocket if they do any other type of transaction other than you buying it. So two different flip sides of the coin, but I bring this up because there's so many people out there that need this solution and need an investor's help to move on with their lives.
Right. And it's interesting because I think selling your home is just such an ordeal. I mean, we hate doing it for whatever reason it is. But the worst thing is when you have it on the market, and people are coming in. We've sold, my husband and I have sold 3 homes over the course of our marriage. And that really was just what annoyed me the most, because we have pets, so that was always entertaining. Somebody couldn't just pop in. I had to make sure that the dogs and the cats were somewhere else. Always having to keep your house clean and show ready, not cooking something with onions. I mean, all these various things. And people just hate it. So we're seeing more and more solutions and options for people to do that, to be able to, not sell their house. There's in the traditional way. There's a company down here in Atlanta that, and there's actually several of them that, they make you an offer, and then they buy the house. And, and so you're never showing it, as they put it, you're never having to make your bed. You're never having to do your dishes, all those various things. And my assumption is it might be a little less than what you might get. But at the same point, it's not going to be a lot less. You're not going to sell it, because and so it is, I think people are looking for other ways to sell their homes in an easy and fairly painless way.
Yes, that's very true, and it'd be very similar on when we're buying somebody's property. Other than we're not going to pay a lot less for the house, we're going to pay typically market value or
Right. Mm-hmm.
slightly above. But yes, if they're looking,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, if they're looking for a better experience when selling their house, I mean, we can certainly make that happen where it doesn't have to be show ready. You can cook onions if you want. You can do whatever you'd like. Just because when we're actually selling the property through our rent to own program, our tenant buyers need some time in order to get financing.
Right.
That's what we're providing them, time. So they're not traditional buyer picky. Like
Mm-hmm.
they can overlook some of these things because they're getting the opportunity to buy a house and to lock up a property now while they're working towards owning it. So the fact that if the beds aren't made or, the house is 100% show ready, it's little and far between. People don't care. So we're definitely bringing a better seller's experience for them to be able to deal with, this life-changing event, which selling a house, comes with memories and baggage and, a whole bunch of things. So anytime that we can make that transition in their lives easier, then, that solution can be provided.
Right. And I love the concept too of the tenant buyer, because many people don't have, the money to a big chunk of money that they can put down, but they know that it's important to buy. I saw an article recently that said that an amazing number of millennials are actually buying homes. And, it was because the whole thought process is, by many people that millennials don't do that. Now they don't want to buy homes. But, but again, it still has to be a fair transaction. It's not like the rent to own appliance where you're actually spending 4 times as much to get that washing machine in the very end. So tell us a little bit more about tenant owned properties.
Yeah, so our tenant buyers are are somebody that is looking to become a homeowner.
Mm-hmm.
So not like a glorified renter that's like, hey, I should just get an option on a house.
Mm-hmm.
They're somebody that actually wants to buy a property, and they typically fall into 2 categories, which is somebody that had a legitimate hiccup in their credit and they need to improve it,
right?
Or somebody that's self-employed and they need time to show or seasoning, show a bank how much they're making. Most of them are going to have a deposit anywhere from 3 to 10%. Mm-hmm. We wouldn't accept them if they didn't because we're handing over an asset to them.
Right. You need to be able to trust that this is a good deal.
Yep. And then we will, based upon their debt to income ratio, their FICO scores, how much they have for a deposit now and how much they can put in as a deposit over a period of time, we'll then create an entire customized process for them, and that way we can set them up for success and be able to get them to a point where they can go get their own financing and buy the house.
Right.
So it's right now, I think it's roughly 80% of the market in most markets that cannot walk into a bank and get financing for various reasons, as banks are very strict at this point in time. So there's a huge gap that needs to be serviced, and we've been able to find that solution for them.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, obviously renting works for a lot of people, but in many cases, when you're renting, you're just kind of throwing that money away. Now, as I said, there are obviously circumstances where renting is the smart way to go, but owning your own home, is also so desirable for so many people, especially if hey, I'm going to be in this area for 5 to 10 years, or maybe longer, especially if you have kids. I mean, a lot of people are thinking, okay, I need to be here for 20 years to get them all the way through high school, and things like that. And so, just renting that entire time does not make sense.
Yeah, I was lucky enough. I guess I would call it cherry picking because we're in the business, but I was able to buy my own house through the rent to own program. And I wouldn't have been able to buy
that house, folks.
It's a very nice property. And I'm glad you brought that up because it's not to brag in any type of way. It's for you to realize that if you are just looking to buy your own house, then it's probably worth you learning how to be able to do this. And also that most people or most houses, if you approach them with the right terms, are willing to sell that way or sell through a rent own or a lease purchase or willing to own or financing. It's not just, houses that don't look very well and aren't in nice areas. We buy very nice homes in all different markets. So yes, I was able to do so, and I wouldn't have been able to buy that house at least for another 18 to 24 months as I'm self-employed. So I've been waiting for the bank for seasoning. And we were just lucky enough where we found the right seller at the right time and we're able to craft up the right terms, which we both were comfortable with. And we actually have a very good relationship with that seller as well. So it's been a complete win. So if you're looking to buy a house in the future, or I actually had a great call with somebody who's going through our program, and they said they joined originally because they thought it'd be a really good way to buy a house for their son, who's millennial. And he needs to work on his credit. And she was saying he's been renting forever now, and it'd be a really good way for him to be able to buy a property. So
and they want it in their basement.
I don't know if he was in their basement, but yes, I'm sure that came into play. So the beautiful thing though about this is that most markets are an appreciating market. So if the way we set up our program is you're tying up the property at a price now or a set amount of equity now. So as the market appreciates, you actually are benefiting in that. So most buyers are walking into equity once they go get their own mortgage.
Right. And you mentioned, parents helping their children. That's exactly what happened when we sold our house in Colorado. The mother and father made the down payment for their daughter and her boyfriend. They were expecting, so they were wanting to nest. They really knew the benefits of owning a home and things like that, but there was no way they had that amount of money to put down. Now it was traditional financing and a traditional sell, through realtors and all of those various things, but yeah, their parents put down the money for the deposit, and clearly, that was something they all had worked out among themselves as to how this transaction was going to work. But, it was great that they were able to do that. But, the way you structure it, it's even better because because of buying on terms, things like that, it is just a very different way to structure it.
Yeah, and it can come down to it, and maybe they're very lucky that they had parents that had that type of.
Oh yeah, because that was a chunk of money.
So now let's say if you're a parent that doesn't have that type of money, but you have the knowledge about how to structure these terms by potentially going through one of our courses or reading our books and understanding the process, then you can actually help your children in a different way by actually crafting up these types of terms and then allowing them to work directly with a seller. So it really opens up the ballgame for everybody.
Right. Well, and then, the child has done it themselves. Now they might have still need a little help from the parents, but, in many cases, it might be held over them. Well, we bought your house. Therefore, you must, all those various things. And so it is better just in so many ways that the children are able to do this themselves or, as much as they possibly can.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we all have an ego. We all have pride. So I am very proud that, me and my wife have been able to do this on our own and we didn't have to ask for any help and things like that. So I'm sure that can play with each and every one of us if we have to, ask somebody to borrow money. I mean, it's never fun. It's sometimes necessary, but not always fun. So I can 100% understand that viewpoint as well.
Right. And it's just important to that's kind of one of those steps of being a grown up is buying your own home. But yeah, sometimes we do need a little bit of help. but yeah, I mean, it's just, that's just part of, and especially if you have a family or are, expecting one soon, you do want to set down roots, and have the lawn for the kids to play. And, that's the one thing about HGTV. I mean, we all see the gorgeous lawns where the kids are going to play and, all those various things. But it's true. When you have the family, you want them to be able to get out and about. That said, I mean, there are city people who they don't want the lawn. They don't want any of that. And, there's obviously options for them too. We've been talking about buying a home, but a home can also be a condo, a duplex, or whatever it is. And so it's whatever works best for you.
Yes, absolutely. Condos are fantastic. There is some restrictions depending on the HOAs. Some of them don't allow you to rent, which means that you'd have to use one of our other options, not a lease purchase. You'd have to buy either owner financing or closing on subject to the existing loan to have the title transfer. But yeah, we've bought in plenty of condos. We've had our associates have bought in plenty of condos. Depends on the market you're in too. Maybe you're an investor or you're looking to invest. There's large markets where condos are very prevalent.
I mean, we were talking about baby boomers getting older. I don't want to have to take care of a lawn, and things like that. So yeah, I mean, that is one of those things that, more and more we're seeing is people in these type of developments and situations.
Yeah, we have an associate of ours that's down in DC. His name's Bill, and he just bought one of those row houses as an investment down in Baltimore, and he bought it subject to the existing loan. So financing from the seller stayed in place, title transfers, he gets all the benefits associated with owning the property and didn't put a single dollar down. So these work in any type of property as long as there is the ability to have an exit strategy, meaning you can either rent it. Typically we do a rent to own, or if you're looking to just buy it and live there yourself, another great exit strategy because you get to really enjoy the property.
Right. So one of the things you mentioned was that when you first started working in the family business, you had one role and now it's kind of transitioned to something else. And you talk about that in the book, and that's that you tend to work more with the sellers. And one of the things that I really liked about reading what you do is, you're making sales calls, and I've had people on before who are experts in how to make sales calls because it's something we all hate. I mean, it's like, ugh. I mean, there are very few people who have it in them that they are good salespeople, but we're all selling. Whatever our business is, we are selling. And so one of the tactics that you have, and I want to talk more about this, is the fact that you have created scripts and you practice. So talk to us about that, because as I said, we all think, ugh, I don't want to do this. But, why are scripts and practicing so important?
Yeah, scripts they make everything very structured, which is important with especially when you're talking to somebody that doesn't necessarily know you, or you're looking to expand your business. It's important to always have structure. That way you have a structured process. You know what the outcome is going to be. If they say A, then you do B. If they say X, you do Y. That just makes everything, you don't have to think about it. It makes it seamless. Right. You know exactly what the end product is going to be. People get frustrated with selling or don't enjoy selling. It's because I just think they have a really they have a misperception of what actual sales are. Right. Sales are just
as the used car salesman pouncing on you in the parking lot.
Yeah, and just constantly bombarding you until you say yes, or constantly hovering over your shoulder until you figure out what you want to do. I totally get it. Nobody likes that. But really, sales in general are just finding out what somebody's current situation is and guiding them to an answer, guiding them to a solution, which may or may not be the solution that you can provide.
Right. Yeah, they could be saying no.
Which is more than okay. It's the maybes that kill us.
Oh, yeah. Do you follow up? When do you follow up? Do they really want you to follow up?
Yeah, exactly. So it's important that so using scripts and then having commonly asked questions and having these processes in place to get the end result or to know where to bring that prospect next is very important because it takes away the guesswork. So once you understand the sales process, or once you understand that sales is really just providing somebody a solution, then that makes it way easier to speak with somebody, especially when you start seeing the end result, which is after you bought these properties and after you've sold these properties, you see the smiles on the seller's face, and that buyers are now have the ability to be homeowners. It's a magical thing once you see the entire process, but at the beginning, it's really just sifting and sorting and figuring out by asking key questions, which will determine whether or not it makes sense to, number one, continue to put them through your follow-up system, or number two, move on and then spend time with the people that can help. So scripts will allow you to do that and allow you to really create something that's very fundamental, and that way there's no guessing involved.
Right. And we're not talking about, the type of calls that we all get every day. It's funny, before you and I were on the air, we were talking about, getting the robo calls and things like that, where they have a script. And unfortunately, they have not been trained on how to use them well. Because what they're doing is they've got their little piece of paper here, and they just start reading through. And it's funny, sometimes it matters not in the slightest what you are saying, because they just keep reading right along. You can't interrupt. I always try and interrupt and do these things. And that's what turns us off about it, because that's what we're used to. And I'll be honest, I kind of have fun sometimes with these people, because I will say things just to see if I can throw them. Now, I don't try and be mean. I mean, there are people who are mean and things like that. But, one of the things, like the nonprofits that call, that, great organizations, just not something I'm going to support. And so one of the things I've done every once in a while is, well, I'll give you money if you give me money. Let me tell you about my favorite nonprofit, and they have no idea what to say. Or when you're getting any type of scripted call, the important thing is to be able to respond appropriately, and not just keep reading question 2, or not go, and so that's where practice comes in. So tell us a little bit more about, how you guys do that to get somebody through the fact that they can start making these calls.
Yep. Well, that person is definitely either poorly trained, or they were outsourced and then not trained, which that's what we all get frustrated with. It's when we start having everybody from overseas calling you, calling your phone, every godly hour there is, and asking you the same questions and starting the same way. And that you're just on this automated list. The way that we always position everything is, yes, you have your script, but it's also important that you've practiced your script. That way you can respond and and then eventually put your personality to it, because we are in the real estate business, which means that we are working directly with people. But just like in any business, you're working with people. The medium just happens to change than what we're talking about right here. And it's important that you personalize things, because you have to find a solution for that person directly, not just any solution. So what we practice is what we call role playing, which is we will have scripts, and one person will be the seller and one person will be the investor, and we call and we banter back and forth, and we try to be really hard on the investor. That way they can see how they work on their toes. We do this with our associates that we work with. We do it in-house. Me and my brother-in-law, when I first got involved, would do this a couple times a week. That way, when I spoke with a seller, the call was actually a lot easier than what we practiced.
Right. Yeah, because he'd been harder on you than most people would.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, another huge benefit to our associates that we work with is if they're in a state where they can tape calls, or as long as they present themselves to tape calls, we will call critique. So I'll be able to listen to them speaking with a seller, and I can now tell them, okay, well, they asked you this. This is how I would have responded. This is how I would have responded. And then the associates that end up becoming very successful, they'll take those notes, and on the next couple of calls, I will hear them spit back that verbatim of what I told them. So it's constantly changing how they approach and how they experience speaking with a seller. So between the role play, the call critiques, and we also have a lot of training that's associated with recorded calls for live sellers and live buyers. So once people immerse themselves in an activity, the results are going to be tenfold. So we always want to make sure that we're able to do that for them.
Right. And we've said it several times. It takes practice. There's a gentleman here in Atlanta that I know who he is a realtor. But one of his things, he calls everybody in his list, whether they've bought from him, sold, if you're in his list, you get a call. And it's funny because I've talked to other people and it's a scripted call. Now, if he knows who he's talking, if he really knows who he's talking to, then he's really going to personalize it. So he might say, hey, I saw on Facebook, you went on vacation, how'd that go? Things like that. But there's several other things that he does that I just found fascinating. He always makes his calls while he's standing because he feels that gives him a different energy. But more importantly, he does it in front of a mirror. And he does that because then he's actually talking to someone. And we've all heard the things like, make sure you're smiling. People can pick up on the fact that you're smiling as you're talking to them. But he really, and to me, that seems a little bit strange. But at the same point, I can see both myself and you as we're doing this call. And so it does help when you can kind of at least see something to get a little bit of that feedback. But I that's just things that work for him, to stand, to get that different energy, to practice, and then really to make sure that he can personalize it where he can. And sometimes it's a matter of if okay, somebody's in an area where it's really hot, where it just rained, where it might be snowing, all those, just, talk about that. So again, they know, okay, it's not a robo automated call or a totally scripted call.
Yes, there's some really, I love those. Those just reminded me of Chris and Nick would talk about that. So that is definitely a old school realtor training. Looking in the mirror, talking to someone in the mirror, practicing your scripts in the mirror. And it's a great way to do speeches. So if people aren't speeches, that's a great way to practice. Standing is a great way to increase your energy. I tend to walk around. I guess I like to use my hands and things like that. So I'm always
I couldn't use my hands. I'm in trouble.
Another good thing is when you're actually speaking with somebody, say about a certain property, the conversation usually comes up about that property. So it wouldn't hurt to pull it up on Zillow or another link just to be able to mention a couple things associated with that property. So that way they don't think you're just calling on anyone at any time for any type of house. So
say, I see you're a couple blocks from a shopping mall, or, wow, look at the lake view that you might have, or whatever it is.
Always personalized. And then it's really important to focus on somebody's motivation. And it's just with like simple conversation with like, oh, I see you have a beautiful house. Why the heck would you want to sell that house? And find out their real motivation. So then from there, you can really customize your solutions to them, which is, hey, if they say they're relocating. Well, I'm glad you brought that up. Actually, I purchased a couple properties from people that are relocating. It worked out fantastic because we're able to do X, Y, and Z, and that allows you to move on. So it's important to have those one-on-one conversations and dive into the motivation on top of also knowing exactly which property you're calling on. So all great tips.
Right. Well, Zach, we've only got about 5 minutes left, and I want to talk a little bit about what it is that a smart real estate coach actually does, because we've all, we might have read the book, we might have, listened to Chris when he was on the program, all these various things, and so we're thinking, okay, it sounds like something I want to check out, but oh my gosh, it sounds scary. And what do you mean I don't have to use my own money? And I just don't know what to do. So tell us a little bit about your program.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. So if you're looking to get involved in a real estate niche, especially a niche where you can directly impact people's lives, and this is to not downgrade any other niche, but let's be serious. If you want to deal with construction, then go ahead and go flip properties. It's extremely crowded in that area and the margins are small. If you want to beat people up and get them on the lowest price possible, wholesaling is great. Not to say you can't make a ton of money there, but if you really want to directly impact people that don't necessarily have a solution based on the traditional market, then buying and selling on terms is a fantastic way to do it. Plus, you're not you're not putting yourself out on a limb, putting a ton of money out there. You're actually leveraging yourself and really diminishing the risk. So if you want to get involved in a real estate transaction where the risk is diminished, this is another great opportunity. So what Smart Real Estate Coach does is we provide the A to Z on how to buy and sell in terms. We have some products that will walk you all the way through. We give you absolutely everything. We're very, very open and share absolutely everything that we have to offer. And then what we've noticed is there's a lot of people out there selling programs. Yes, we have a program. So what we've done is we've created our associate programs, which means that we can fully immerse the person to allow them to be able to get deals done and actually build out a business. It's unfortunate that people are buying programs with no results. We have some students that are very successful now that have spent over $100,000 on coaching and training and products that didn't get a single deal done until they came into our Wicked Smart community. So we're just seeing amazing results by fully implementing them and allowing them to actually build the business and get to the future and get to their end goal and move forward in the future. So that's what Smart Real Estate Coach does. If you're interested in that, I'd love your audience to get our free book that you brought up. I will give it to you absolutely for free. Just unlike other people out there, we're not charging you for shipping. We're not charging you for anything else, shipping or handling.
Buy one, get two, whatever it is.
Exactly. We'll give it to you absolutely for free. We'll ship it to you on us. All you have to do is give us your address. Mind if I give the website?
Sure, most definitely.
All right. So you want to go to newrulesforfree.com. So that's newrulesforfree.com. You'll get our new rules of real estate investing, the 24 leading expert in their real estate secrets. It is an Amazon bestseller. We've had 2 of them now. The book is changing people's lives. Really cool, written out where you're not only going to see our niche, but you're going to also be able to dive into other experts that are in other niches. So you can decide what is the best fit for you. We're not naive enough to think that we're a one-size-fits-all. As we were talking about core values, we work with a very specific group of people and work with them to help them succeed. So if you plan on getting into real estate, figure out the best niche that fits for you. Figure out the best mentor out there, a mentor that's doing what he says he's doing and constantly doing it right now. And then put the blinders on and start taking action, as that's the only way we can create a business.
Right. And I love that you give this away, and folks, I want to show you. I mean, this is an inch thick book and it's not giant print. So, but as I mentioned at the start of the program, there's tips in here for anyone, and that was what I enjoyed the most when I was reading it was it does give so many tips about being a great business person and being successful that even if you decide real estate investing isn't what you want to do, it is something where you can get great information. So again, give that website so people can take advantage of this.
Yep. So that's New Rules for Free. newrulesforfree.com. You'll get our free book. We'll ship it out to you. Enjoy it. Dive into it. Yes, there's tons of learning lessons in there and personal development stories, as they are leading experts not only just in real estate but in business in general. So we're all in the same atmosphere here. We're all building a business. We're all entrepreneurs. We're all trying to push the envelope and move it forward. So great tips in there, whether you're in real estate or not in real estate.
Right. And the primary website for you guys is smartrealestatecoach.com, and that's where you can find out more about actually working with Chris and Zach and Nick and everybody else. So there's great tips there. But Zach, if they want to reach out and connect with you, how do they do that?
Yeah, I'll just give away my personal email. I'm more than okay with that. So just email me, Zach, Z-A-C-H, at smartrealestatecoach.com. That's Z-A-C-H at smartrealestatecoach.com. You will, if you buy the book or you reach out to support or however else you come into us, we are going to know you're on the radar. We will all reach out to you personally. As I said, we are a family business, so you'll end up getting a call from me, Nick, or Chris, or one of our amazing support staff. So once you're in our atmosphere, then we're happy to chat.
Great. But you only get the cool shirt if you actually, now I'll be honest, folks, I'm not really part of the program. But I think it's a great program. Just, right now, not what I'm doing, but I love the shirt, think it's very cool. So, I want to thank you for that. So Zach, do you have any final words that you want to leave, everyone with?
Yeah, I would say that if you are sitting on a fence right now, meaning you don't wake up each and every day excited about building your business or going to work, then it's time to make a change. I know that this was one of my learning lessons from my 29 years experience here, but that's a huge aha that I've had in my life. It's even though I'm only 29, life has flown by. I can tell you that, because just watching my son's gonna be 2 years old soon, and it gets fast. So you only get one. So make sure that if you're sitting on a fence each and every day and you're not sure, if you want to go to work or not, then it's time to start pursuing something else, whether it's real estate, becoming an entrepreneur, a different niche, a different business, whatever it is, just make it happen and take the leap.
Perfect. I love it. Well, this is great. I can't wait to have you on again. I think this is so much fun. And I learn, every time I learn. People ask me, what do you like best? I learn from my guests. I think it's so much fun. And so would love to have you on again. So just let us know about that. And until then, I am Deb Creer. I've been having an absolutely wonderful time talking with Zach Beach, and everyone have a great day.
Thanks for listening to the Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer. Join us next time for more real-life stories and techniques to power up your business.
You've been listening to C-Suite Radio. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.